Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. What I'd like to do this morning is just kind of walk you through a hammock setup that I've got from Dutchwaregear.com. And if you're not familiar with Dutchwaregear, he started out as a kind of do-it-yourselfer making hammocks and tarps and things like that. And he's invented a lot of products and has patents on lots of different locking mechanisms and adjustment mechanisms for hammocks. And he has his own company called Dutchwaregear.com. And he's kind of considered the guru of hammock camping in that niche of the community. So what I wanted to do today was I wanted to walk you through a setup that I've been using for a little while now that Dutch sent me and show you some of the little intricacies of Dutch's setup and why I think it's so innovative and so good. Now, bear in mind, Dutch is an ultralight Appalachian Trail hiker. So everything that he makes is based on that ultralight mentality, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. You sacrifice a little bit of durability to go ultralight, but at the same time, Dutch is very good at finding fabrics that are not only light, but they're also very durable. And the material that he uses often has a ripstop type hex pattern in it that's embedded into the product to make it stronger as well as being lightweight. So anyway, let me cut the bull and just kind of get this stuff out of my backpack and set up this tarp and chameleon style hammock that he makes for you and kind of show you some of the different buckles and cinch straps and things that he uses on his systems that I think are really cool. I don't sell his equipment on my website, but you can go to Dutchwaregear.com and find all of this stuff. Stay with me, guys. So I figure while we're going through this, I'll kind of show you how I set this up in my pack system. This is my Foul Raven Laplander 45 pack. And it's got a lid that's got a pocket for easy access stuff on it. And it's got a lid pocket on the inside. And that's where I keep 2 carabiners, my suspension straps, and my stakes for my system. That's just something that's really easy for me to get to. So I'm going to drop the stakes back in there for now. We're going to use these 2 straps real quick to set up where we're going to hang our hammock on the tree. The cool thing about these, the way Dutch has got these made, is they've got what's called Dutch clips on these straps. So that when you hook these straps onto a tree, they have these patented clips on them that allow you to just wrap it around the tree and drop it in place just like this. And you have that's about an 1,800 pound test strap right here that has a really quick connect and disconnect on it, so that you can wrap around any size tree that you need. And you can use that either upside down or right side up. As far as this Dutch clip goes, you can put it right side up like this and put it on the tree, or you could go the other direction with it and put it upside down. It does have a keeper in it there that will hold it in place, so it's not going to come off the tree. So we'll get these set up first, and then we'll get our hammock system set up on them. What I'm going to do with this, I'm going to use that same methodology that I used before with my system of using a Marline spike hitch. And these ultralight carabiners work really good for that. You could use a stick as well, where we're just going to climb the rope, and I've done this on video before for you guys and showed you how to use these Marline spike hitches. And this will be our hook for our whoopie sling on our hammock when we get set up. Okay, in the top of my pack, generally what I keep in here at the very top are things I need to get to very quickly on the fly. So I've generally got my extra outerwear of some kind in there for wet weather, and then my bush pot. And below that is my shelter system. And I've got a hammock and a tarp side by side in here. The total weight of this hammock and tarp is, I'm sure it's well under 2 pounds, to be honest with you. It's probably under that even. This tarp actually weighs almost nothing. And the hammock's just a little bit heavier because it incorporates a bug net as well. So let's take this hammock over and get it set up on our suspension system. Okay, the way he's got this set up is it's got 2 ends that will open so that you can pull your strapping out from both ends. And what that will tell you is, the way they've got this color coded is they generally put the colored bead of their whoopie sling, in this case it's an orange bead, on the head side. So if you plan on laying your head up to this end, that would be where you'd hook your whoopie sling for the head side. Then you can just walk this straight down. Now, I've got mine from the last time I had it set up. I've got my string coiled up on here, my excess. We'll just unravel that. And then really all we need to do is open this up on this side and walk this thing down to the other end. Very simple. So now we're just going to walk this out to the other end, and we're going to leave this bag on here and hook our Whoopie Sling up to the other end. Then we can start to draw things up where we want to be. And that's the advantage to this Whoopie Sling system, is you can draw it up as tight as you want it very, very quickly. So if you're not familiar with these Whoopie Slings, they are made from a Dyneema cordage that's very strong. And you basically are splicing it through the cord itself to make like a Chinese finger trap. So if you're going to loosen it, you push the bead against it and pull the tag in. And if you're going to tighten it, you just pull the tag end through the finger trap or through the splice until you get it as tight as it needs to be. And the way this hammock's set up, it has a static ridge line on it, so you can only get it so tight, and you know exactly you've got that right hang angle once you get it that tight. Once you sit in and stretch it out a little bit, you may want to come back here and retighten. There's a couple of things I want to show you on this hammock. I don't know if you can see this fabric very well on the camera, but it has cross hatching in it because it is a ripstop type material. It's very strong and durable. Obviously it's not going to withstand sparks from a fire. That's the sacrifice you make with the ultralight, but it is a very durable and strong fabric with lots of tie-out points, like I said, so that you have adjustable shock cord on here that you can lash out to your stakes from your tarp or whatever, so that you get a good ASIM lay in this hammock. This hammock also has, besides the bug net, it has a top shelf here. If I can turn this camera just a little bit. It has a top shelf here that's adjustable on the static ridge line, so that you can put things up in that shelf if you need to, with plenty of adjustment points in that to make it tighter, and it slides along the ridge line to get it completely out of your way if you need to. It also has a Ridgeline Organizer that slides up and down here that's built into the hammock. And then I've just taken a Night Eyes Moonlight and attached it to there, so that I've got a light inside my hammock to read or whatever I'm doing without having to hang a headlight up there, because it doesn't add much weight to the hammock, and I can just leave it attached to that static ridge line. You can buy these things at Lowe's, at Home Depot, and places like that, or you can order them online as well. So I'm really fond of this hammock system, and again, with this integrated bug net that can be taken off or put on. You know, if I'm not in a season where I've got to worry about bugs, I can reduce a little bit of the weight by taking that bug net off. But if I'm in an area like Florida where there's a lot of bugs, or down south, or I'm in the right time of the year in Ohio where it gets buggy, that bug net makes a big difference. So I'm really, really fond of the way this hammock sets up. Once we get our tarp set up over the top of it, we will pull these shock cords out for that ASIM lay we're talking about, and I'll show you what that looks like as well. Okay, so let's talk about this tarp system for a minute, because I'm really fond of this as well. This is an ultralight tarp, but it is huge. It's like almost, I think this is an 11-foot or 12-foot hammock. I think it's an 11-foot hammock. And this tarp is plenty long enough to cover this hammock, and it is a hex tarp. Now, you've got suspension lines on this tarp, and you've got tie-out lines. And the tie-out lines that he put on here for me are called Dutch wire. And they're very similar. They're Dyneema, but they're really, really thin. They don't weigh a lot, but they have a lot of strength to them. And then he's got a Dyneema cord that's a little bit thinner for the tarp tie-out itself. And connected to this is where I have these stinger clips. And we're going to talk about these stinger clips that are made out of titanium here in just a minute, because these are a very interesting system that he uses for his tarps. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take our tarp line, which is connected to the tie-out point or the grommet point on our tarp, and it's connected to that stinger. And we're just going to run that around the tree at whatever height we want really quick like here. pull it about even with our hammock. And we're just going to temporarily tie this thing off. And I'm adjusting this camera as I go, guys, so kind of bear with me here. All right. So what you're supposed to do with this is gain mechanical advantage here in this front stinger. And once you do that, once you've gained that mechanical advantage, you can then wrap this thing around the antenna and lock it in place. So I'm just going to do that loosely at about enough length to overlap my hammock here until I go tie out the other end. And I'm going to tie it out exactly the same way. Okay, so now that I've tied the other end of that off, I can come back to this first one, pull it out of that eye, or out of that antenna, excuse me, and I'm just going to pull it all the way out of here so you can see what we're doing. And I've got this line pulled through the stinger portion here. That gives me that mechanical advantage to pull it taut. And once I do that, I can just come up and wrap it around the antenna 2 times, and it's secure. I didn't have to tie any knots or anything. It's very easy to get that undone when the time comes. And now I have my tarp set up right above my hammock. I wanted to try to give you kind of a close-up of this Stinger titanium cinching device that Dutch has developed here. And you've got a stinger here on the bottom, and you've got 2 antennae. All of his clips, if you know anything about Dutch, all of his stuff is named after insects. So it's got a carabiner type swing gate clip on it here in the main body, 2 antennae, and the stinger. And the stinger is used again to get that 2-to-1 leverage on your line by hooking it into that slot and pulling it to get that 2-to-1 leverage. And once you've got that, then you just come around and wrap twice around the antenna, just like that, and it locks it into place so that you have a taut line. Very easy to get undone, no muss, no fuss with that. And again, being titanium, they don't weigh anything, and they're only about 2 inches long at the most if they're that big. So that's a great little system that he's developed there, and I wanted to show you that up close. Now the other thing Dutch uses is this Dutch wire. He calls it Dutch wire on his tarps. And this stuff is, again, Dyneema. That's ultra strong but ultra lightweight. And you can just stick your Marline spike hitch and that around your stake, yank that dude out, and I mean, there is plenty of strength here. I've tripped over this line, I've snagged this line on sticks and yanked it off, and I have yet to break it. So it's good, strong line, but again, I mean, it's almost like there's nothing there, and so it doesn't weigh anything. You combine that with a titanium stake, and you really got something. You know, one of the things I like about Dutch is everything he does it to last. You know, you got a lot of reinforcement on this tarp itself, which is made out of a, what he calls an Xeon fabric, which is basically a sil nylon, but it's got a square mesh in it, so it's a ripstop, and the silicone is basically impregnated into the material. There's no slick side really like you would have with some sil nylon tarps. The whole thing just feels like almost like balloon cloth. If you go back in history to people like Nesmith and Kephart, they talked about balloon silk as a material for sheltering. And this, to me, is very reminiscent of a balloon silk type material. So it's not going to be durable around flame, but I doubt balloon silk was either, to be honest with you. So as long as you take care not to get it around flame, I would say that the fabric itself is very wear resistant and very durable. So I wanted to show you this stuff today from Dutchware, not so much as an educational type video, but more as just a video of, here's some gear that's out there if you like hammocking. Here's something out there if you're looking for something a little more ultra light that's not too god-awful expensive. And usually that's the problem. When you start getting lighter, you start getting a lot more expensive. When you start talking about Cuban fiber and things like that, you're talking a lot of money. This kind of stuff is not so expensive. This Chameleon hammock system and this Xeon tarp are really not that expensive compared to some of the other stuff that's on the market today, but it's very lightweight and very durable, and that's what I like about it. So I thought I would show you guys that today, and I also wanted to show you a couple little things like these Dutch clips that are holding this hammock up, and you know, these stingers that I'm using for adjustments, because I think all of these things that Dutch has come up with as far as innovations for hammocking are very important for us to look at and understand and see how usable they are for our personal setups and our personal use. And I really am fond of these so far, and I've only used them a couple of times, but I really, really like the system in general and the weight of it as well.